at all. Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to yield next to the gentleman from Pennsylvania's 10th District, Mr. Perry.
Well, I thank my good friend, Mr. Johnson, for this special order, talking, unfortunately, about the things that make us sad to see happening in our country. I was here before, they were talking about the climate crisis. We sure do have a climate crisis. We got a climate of unbridled spending happening in this country without any eye towards the consequences. Of course, we got a border crisis. We got a law and order crisis going on. We got a leadership crisis in this country. We're ceding the leadership of the United States of America to thugs in Russia and China and Iran. We got a political crisis where everything is politicized, where we can't even get together on things we agree with here because the other side forces you to take votes that, potentially destroy the fabric of our country, our neighborhoods, the things that we agree on. We can't even do that here because there's got to be a political price to pay for everything. And, of course, the financial crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, inflation is here, and it's here to stay. In May, the consumer prices spiked 5% from the previous year. That's the biggest spike since August of 2008. 2008, remember that? The beginning of the Great Recession. We don't have to be doing this, but I think we're going to do it again. Overall prices jumped at a shocking 9.7% annualized rate from March through May, so that's 10%. Oh, by the way, that coincides with the time that the Biden policies, fiscal policies, started coming into play. They were beginning to devastate the economy like we knew they would. In real terms, if you're driving, you're paying 40% more today than you did at the start of the year. And it's artificial, right? We closed the Keystone Pipeline down. We let Russia have their pipeline, but we closed ours down. Do you think the gas isn't coming, ladies and gentlemen? It's still coming. Yeah, it's still coming. We're just paying a lot more for it because we've got to put it on a truck or a train because, heaven forbid, it can't go through the Keystone Pipeline. Oh, we can't have that. And guess who pays? Guess every single one of us, but who does it hurt the most? Do you remember the days when you were growing up and you couldn't afford to fill up your gas tank? You put $5 in and you prayed you got to the end of the week? That's who it's hurting, and it's happening again. Food prices up 2.4%. The transport cost of food up 25%. And again, who does it hurt the most? Meanwhile, the May job report shows 9.3 million job openings in the U.S., nearly a million increase over the numbers for April. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the largest increase ever since the Bureau of Labor Statistics began counting. These are indicators of bad things happening. And they're also indicators and a manifestation of bad policy when we, as the government, pay more for people to stay home than they do if they would go to work. And who can blame them? They're looking out for their economic best interest. If they can make more staying home, well, God bless them, they have to because they've got to pay the higher prices from all this inflation that's not happening. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because that's what the president has told us, and that's what Janet Yellen told us. Well, we might have been born at night, Mr. Johnson, but it wasn't last night. We know it is happening, and this is obvious to any Economics 101 student. The Biden administration and Democrats in Congress have extended these benefits through September. So guess what? It's just going to keep going. It's just going to keep going. Labor is going to cost more, and everything associated with labor is going to cost more. And who's it going to hurt the most? The people working the hardest at the bottom, trying to make their way out. Families can't afford it. And you know who else can't afford it, Mr. Johnson? My good friend. I have a friend at home, started a business 51 years ago. Came home from fighting for his country in Vietnam, started a business from scratch 51 years ago. Hired hundreds of people, was known around the world for his product. Well, guess what just happened this month? Got to shut her down, man. Got to shut her down. The policies affect people's lives. Like I said, the President and Secretary Yellen said that inflation wasn't real just a few months ago. Now they're saying it won't be permanent. If you believed what they said a couple months ago, you might as well believe that. But while they're pursuing another $6 trillion in spending, we can't go to the bank. We're just going to print it. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to be runaway inflation, and it's actually going to threaten the continuation of this very republic. And that's on top of spending an additional $2.2 $2.1 trillion in the deficit for the first 8 months of this fiscal year, the largest on record, which just follows $3 trillion last year, which was another record. We just simply can't afford these reckless policies. We love our country. We want to work with the other side. This isn't working. It's not working for the American people. It's not working for any of us. We are at the tipping point in a lot of ways in this country. One of them is economic. We can do something about it, but we need the president to have some fiscal restraint. We need the people in this body to have some fiscal restraint. I thank the gentleman for offering this time tonight. We don't need to kowtow. We don't need to kneel at the altar of the green crazy people that want to drive the agenda. And we have a great country, and we could save it. We don't have to let China open a coal plant one every week while we hobble ourselves and shut ourselves out of the great resources that we have in this country. We don't have to do it. Thank you. I yield back to the gentleman.